Start.
Mm-hmm.
You want to call it for? You do. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome. I'll be covering the Finance Committee today. Councilmember Evans is out of town. But before we do get started with the Finance Committee, I'll be covering the Finance Committee. I want to acknowledge guests that we have. I'd like to welcome the students from the Emerging Leaders Program. When I call your name, please stand. Tori Arterberry from the Rochester City School District. Case Baumwart from Pittsford Sutherland. Ariana Cotto from Odyssey Academy. Kassan Curry from Hope Hall. Hey, Kassan. Johanna Daniels from Edison Tech. Ellington Hall from East Irondequoit. Andrew Miranda from Pittsford Mendon. Taylor Rourke from Greece. Mamadou Saul from the Rochester City School District. Yes. Marcus Smith from Spencerport. Kelly Yorkie from Pittsford Mendon. And Noel Bajado from the Rochester City School District. Welcome to you, and we're so pleased to have you and look forward to you becoming the leaders as you are the emerging leaders of our city and our community. Welcome. So the clerk will call the roll for the Finance Committee, please.
Councilmember Evans. Councilmember Clifford.
Here.
Councilmember Patterson. Here. Vice President Lightfoot. Here. President Scott.
Here. Okay. Introductory number 125, approving the apportionment of taxes and charges. There are questions, comments?
Move to adopt.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye. I say aye. Introductory number 126, local improvement ordinance, establishing the operating and maintenance cost of neighborhood commercial and residential parking areas. A public hearing is going to be held for this at 5 after the committee meeting. Is there a motion to consider?
Move it.
Second.
You've
All
got
in
something,
favor?
you've got Andrew's trying to tell you something. I don't know what, but.
Okay. Is there, I'm offering a motion to amend introductory number 126, revising the legislation to correct the fiscal year. Is there a second for that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So, offering the motion as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Introductory number 126, authorizing an agreement for medical services for non-uniformed employees. I'm sorry, 127, for non-uniformed employees. Questions or comments?
Move to adopt.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
I say aye. Motion carries. Introductory number 128, cancellation of erroneous taxes and charges. Questions, comments? Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 129, authorizing a grant agreement with the J.P. Morgan Chase Foundation for the Rochester Financial Empowerment Centers Initiative. Are there questions or comments? Councilmember Gruber.
I just want to say congratulations. This is really exciting, and we had 2 work sessions about this. I don't see Lomax or Brad, but if they're back there, congrats on the great work, and this is really, really exciting stuff.
Thank you. Okay, if there are no additional questions or comments,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 130, authorizing an agreement with Children's Institute, Inc. for Grow Rochester. We had a number of questions, but they were all answered. Oh, Councilmember Patterson.
Great work. I just want to commend the administration on doing this wonderful initiative. Good to see it moving forward.
Okay. Did I get a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Introduction number 131, authorizing an agreement for an economic development and enhancement study. Councilmember Grover.
So I've had the privilege to get to know Dr. Ogilvy, and very, very excited about the prospect of having her come in and do a study like this. But I am concerned, especially in the wake of the BCG study that basically said that all of our economic development agencies as a community don't speak the same language. And I understand that's part of the purpose of getting Dr. Ogilvy to come do this work. Do we have any sense of the type of buy-in that GRE, the Chamber, NextCore, these other organizations, are they enthused by this work? Are they excited by it?
So this is really to focus on our work and not necessarily the regional work, which they are actually focused on. But at the last GRE meeting, when we actually talked about the BCG study, we brought this up, and they were excited about it as well.
So, they don't need to be excited, right? That we could hope, but they're going to participate. Like Dr. Ogilvy won't have roadblocks working with them.
No, this is not necessarily about what they're doing, because they're looking at the entire region.
Right.
This is really about focusing on how our Redco works internally and building a infrastructure or ecosystem where we can do what we need to do on behalf of city businesses, and not just be like a bank. Currently, Redco functions as just a entity that people come to, they submit their documentation, they may get a loan for equipment purchases or something of that nature. What we want to do is really develop an economic development strategy that could help our commercial corridors based off of the commercial corridor study that we did, as well as look at how we can actually empower and build up and attract businesses that we are currently not doing right now. Their focus is more on the region, and it will all be in partnership ultimately, because everybody has basically their lane, but there's an overarching united front that they want to put together.
Yeah, and I understand that it's mostly about internal, and I understand that, and it should be. But that overarching piece, I think one of the things that the BCG report said is that we, as a community, as a region, don't always have that. So maybe it's less about how Dr. Ogilvy is going to work with them, but is one of the goals for her to recommend to us how we should be engaging those groups at the end of this study?
We're already engaging them. So the point that I'm making is that all of those individuals, GRE, the Chamber, Imagine Monroe, Redco, the Finger Lakes Empire State Development, all of us are already working together. BCG is putting together, or what they focused on was how do those 5 entities have a common ground and a common thread to actually elevate the entire region, but that doesn't negate everyone's single lane and what they're working on. So basically, we're just a piece in the puzzle, and it's going to go both ways. It's not going to take us away from what we're doing as a united sort of region. We're already at the table. We are working with, on a daily basis. Our team, the commissioner and his staff, are working with each of those entities to try and attract businesses. But the one thing that I do want to point out is that what we believe is a strategy for the city at sometimes conflicts. And and I'm going to give you a prime example of that, right? So we're understanding that as a region, businesses will come and they will ask the question of where should we go, right? And it may be easier and more economically feasible for a company to, as a cost center, to locate outside because of parking and other things like that. But what is better for residents? And so we just had a situation where we had a company that made a decision to locate outside of the city, but their workers are predominantly going to be city workers. When they finally came to the city and sat down and they had talked to everybody else, and it was like, oh, everything's great, everything's good. And we really started to talk about, okay, well, how will your workers get there? Do you understand our transportation system? Do you understand that when it's, 10 degrees outside and the snow is blowing, this is where these people will be standing to catch a bus. This is why you have the high turnover. This is one of the problems. And they had never even considered that. They had never thought about, okay, what's best for the workers that we're trying to attract. The decision had already been made. And it's interesting that, they got into an Uber and they asked the Uber driver, if you had to take the bus to Henrietta to take this job, would you? And she's like, no, it would take 2 hours. And so that's the type of stuff that, even though we have an overarching goal of attracting businesses and other things to our region, there are certain things that we're going to have to do on behalf of the city to really put our voice and have a voice when it comes down to economic development for our residents.
I agree, and I don't want to belabor the point, but that's what that exact story is what I'm concerned about, because no matter what we try to do as an economic development agency, if we still have a GRE who's working hard to attract people to Henrietta, how does this work by Dr. Ogilvie help us, how does it help us get around that issue and have the conversations up front if we're not working with GRE from the start on that?
Because we'll be able to go after them ourselves.
Okay, thanks, that's what I needed to hear.
Are there any additional questions or comments? Is there a motion to adopt?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. I say aye. Introductory number 162, authorizing an amendatory agreement with RK Height and Company relating to Uniform Relocation Act compliance services. Questions or comments?
Move to adopt.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
I say aye, motion carries. Introductory number 163, amending the 2018-19 budget for unanticipated revenues. And I am offering an amendment. I'm asking for a motion to amend, revising the legislation to include an agreement not to exceed $50,000 with Emery, Shelley, Brinkerhoff, and Abadi, LLP, for legal counsel in relation to the Police Accountability Board.
Second.
Questions or comments? There being none, then introductory number 163 as amended, amending the 2018-19 budget for unanticipated revenues.
I think we have to vote on the amendment, right?
Then we,
Yeah,
oh, we did not?
we did not.
Okay.
Nope.
I thought we did. I
had-
got Willie's.
We just didn't vote.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
all in favor?
Aye.
And I say aye. Okay. So the motion is amended, amending the 2018-19 budget for unanticipated revenues.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I say aye. Motion carries. Introductory numbers 164A, determining and certifying base proportions, current percentages, and base percentages for the 2019 assessment roll. Questions?
I
Comments?
guess I'll just ask a question. Was this anticipated? I've been away, and so I'm back on here. Can you give us a little overview, Chris, maybe?
Sure.
Thanks.
So this is these two items taken together, right, are required calculations that the state has us go through each year because we've got two separate classes, right, homestead and non-homestead. So the first item is really determining what the current circumstance is as of the final rolls for the current year. The adjusted base proportions, et cetera, apply to what will happen in the next tax year. So it's basically adjusting between the homestead and non-homestead classes based on several factors, including physical and quantity changes, as well as equalization changes.
Right.
And so it really determines what percentage of the tax levy each class pays.
Right. And compared to our past couple of years, are we trending sort of similarly?
So there's a shift in this calculation from the non-homestead to the homestead
Yeah.
class, right? So, and with that shift, there's no more revenue generated. It just comes down to who
Where it comes
bears
from.
the cost, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Any
you.
additional questions? There being none, is there a, Councilmember Patterson?
Can you share with us in writing what the change would be in the assessed value of property per 100,000 based upon this change? We don't need it today, but if you can send it to us. that'd be
So,
great.
so
I
that'll
think
be
that's-
reflected in the
It's in the item.
budget that comes out tomorrow.
Okay. We know.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
I say aye. Motion carries. Introductory number 164B, the companion item for this, determining and certifying adjusted base proportions, assessed value, and net changes in assessed value for the 2019 assessment roll.
I'll move to adopt.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. That concludes the business of the Finance Committee.
At this time, I call the Neighborhood and Business Development Committee to order, and I ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Patterson,
Here.
Councilmember Harris,
Here.
There you go.
Councilmember Ortiz, Vice President Lightfoot,
Present, ma'am.
President Scott.
Introductory number 132, and I'd also like to notice that we're joined by all other members of council, save council members Ortiz and Evans. Introductory number 132, authorizing the sale of real estate. Questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Item passes. Introductory number 133, authorizing the sale of real estate. Questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I need a motion and a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Item passes. Introductory number 134, amending ordinance number 2018-132 as it relates to the acquisition of real estate to effectuate the Bull's Head Urban Renewal District. That's a heck of a header. Questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, need a motion and a second.
Yep, you're-
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item passes. Introductory number 135, authorizing the acquisition by negotiation or condemnation of permanent easement over 167-183 Villa Street for a water main. Questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Item passes. Introductory number 136, authorizing grant agreement with Empire State Development for La Marqueta project. Questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Item passes. Introductory number 137, amending the zoning map for a portion of parcel number 135.18-2-1. Public hearing to be held at 5 p.m. after the May 16, 2019 committee meeting. Questions, comments, or concerns?
Move to consider.
Okay,
Second.
all right. So, question, comments, concerns, motion second, got it done. All in favor? Aye. Item passes. Introductory number 138, amending the zoning code for technical corrections to the Planned Development District Number 17, Highland Hospital. Public hearing to be held at 5 p.m. after the May 16, 2019 committee meeting. Questions, comments, or concerns?
Motion to consider.
Second.
Okay, so we're good. All in favor?
Aye.
Item passes. Yeah, that completes the, are there any other items to come before this committee? Nope, seeing none, we are adjourned.
I'd like to call the meeting of the Parks and Public Works Committee to order and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Gruber.
Here.
Councilmember Evans. Councilmember Spall.
Here?
Vice President Lightfoot.
Present, ma'am.
President Scott.
Here.
And I would like to note that we're joined by all the other members of council except for Councilmember Ortiz and Evans. Introductory number 139, amending the official map to dedicate additional right-of-way on West Ridge Road. A public hearing to be held at 5 o'clock today after committee meetings. Any questions or comments?
So moved?
Second.
And this, just so everyone knows, is a motion to consider.
That's correct.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Introductory number 140, authorizing pavement width changes for the McGee Avenue Rains Park Group Improvement Project. A public hearing to be held at 5 o'clock today after committee meetings. Questions or comments?
I do, Councilmember Gruber.
Yes, Councilmember Clifford.
Thank you. Commissioner Jones and team, thank you so much for your work on this, and I know there's been a lot of interest in it, and I think mostly support over the decision not to impinge Electric Avenue into the median, so thank you. I think it does retain its park-like quality, though it is not a park. But one constituent had a question, and I don't remember if we have voted on the funding for this project yet, but if so, or if not, where is this being funded out of?
We believe this is from our general fund cash
Okay.
capital.
Okay.
I'll verify that, but that's where those types of projects will come from.
Thank you. Somewhere along the line, there was mention of CDBG funds, which didn't make any sense to me, so just wanted to make sure that that was still true. But I do support this.
Great, so I'll take a motion to consider.
Motion to consider.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Introductory number 141, amending the official map to abandon portions of Exchange Boulevard and East Broad Street rights-of-way. A public hearing to be held at 5 o'clock today after committee meetings. Are there any questions or comments? If not, then I'll take a motion to consider.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 142, authorizing an agreement and funding for the construction of Adventure Place. Are there questions or comments around this? If not, I'll take a motion.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 143, a bond ordinance to finance the construction of Adventure Place. Questions or comments? Can I have a motion?
So moved?
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 144, authorizing appropriations and an agreement for the 2018 Asphalt Milling and Resurfacing Preventative Maintenance Group 2 project. Are there questions or comments?
Just have a-
Yes, Councilmember Clifford.
Thank you. Do we normally not bid out contracts of this size? Just seems like usually the residential milling projects are smaller.
This is being bid out, and yes, we
Oh, it
do
has
bid
been
this
bid?
out. Yes.
All right. I'm misreading what is happening here.
That's okay. You were out of the country for a while.
Thank you. Where am I? All right, thank you.
So I'll take a motion.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 145, a bond ordinance to finance the 2018 Asphalt Milling and Resurfacing Preventative Maintenance Group 2 project. Any questions or comments? If not, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 146, authorizing an agreement for multi-site park improvements. Any questions or comments? I'll take a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 147, authorizing an amendatory agreement with Bergman Associates regarding the Clinton and Emerson Firehouse's HVAC replacement. Any questions or comments?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Wonderful, motion carries. Introductory number 148, authorizing an amendatory agreement with CNS Engineers for the Elmwood Avenue Collegetown Cycle Track project. There is an amendment for introductory number 148. This amendment would revise the legislation to adjust the funding for the share breakdown. Any questions on this amendment or legislation?
Move to amend.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, the amendment carries. Now I'll take a motion to adopt introductory number 148 as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 149, authorizing an amendatory agreement and amending ordinance number 2016-268 relating to the Mount Hope Avenue Phase 2 Improvement Project. Any questions or comments? Then I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 150, authorizing additional funding and an amendatory agreement for the Joseph A. Floriano Rochester Riverside Convention Center Terrace Repairs Project. Any questions or comments? Councilmember Spall?
I have to abstain.
Can I have a motion then?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 151, authorizing an intermunicipal agreement with the Village of Fairport for pesticide application to ash trees. Any questions or comments?
So moved.
I will just make one quick comment. I think this stuff is fascinating and something that we really should applaud ourselves for, learning from Commissioner Jones about the way that our services get contracted out by other municipalities because of our expertise is something I don't think we get enough credit for, but congratulations to your team, Commissioner.
Thank you, Person Gruber, excuse me.
I think I heard a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 152, authorizing an amendatory agreement with Transmap Corporation relating to a pavement management system. Any questions or comments?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 153, amending ordinance number 2019-63 relating to an official map amendment abandoning a portion of Pitkin Street. A public hearing to be held at 5 o'clock today after committee meetings. Are there questions or comments?
Move to consider.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Introductory number 165, authorizing an amendatory agreement for a public electric scooter sharing system. Any questions or comments?
Thank you.
Councilmember Clifford.
Well, we've talked about this, and I just want to thank you for following up, and I understand there's some further work on trying to do some more education around the scooter system and using it. My concern is, and I'm sure the Northwest District is not unique in the number of complaints we get about motorized vehicles of all kinds of types that are being used illegally, that are really presenting a nuisance to our residents. And I do get concerned that this sends kind of a mixed message. And it's a issue that the police struggle with and we sort of struggle with as well. So while I definitely get the overarching need here to have alternatives, I do appreciate the fact that we'll have some further conversation and hope that we can continue to work on the safety issues and the nuisance issues. So thank you.
Yeah, I will just add, unless, Councilmember Spall?
Yeah, I'll wait for yours, but I have a thought or question as well.
Sure.
Go ahead.
So for me, this is a very exciting piece of legislation. I think it's fantastic to always consider how we get people out of cars. Anytime we can get people out of cars, get people on the street, moving around, I think that's a great thing for our city. And Mayor Warren, I applaud you on actually preempting the state's legislation to make us move quickly on this, and I'm all for it. I do, however, worry, especially yesterday after being in the Ride for Silence, I worry about the safety of these things, and we've seen how it's rolled out in other cities. So what I'd like to see happen is to re-engage the Complete Streets team, to be able to have some conversations as we have another month or so probably before it gets passed in Albany, for us to be able to talk with the Complete Streets team, talk with your policy people, and see if we can do some work, whether it's around policy or even just communication, so that we can be ready to hit the ground running when the legislation does pass.
Thank you, Chairperson Gruber. Kelly Matrico is here, who's the policy director for the city, and I will talk to the commissioner about Eric Fish, who did some of our, did most of the designs for our bike lanes, was really intricate in the Complete Streets design and legislation. So I think that it's great that we would be able to convene that team and work together to really proactively get our citizens ready for scooters if it was to pass the state legislature. So I would definitely be talking to Commissioner Jones and Kelly about doing something to pull that team together.
That's fantastic. And the work we've done on Complete Streets is phenomenal in this city. We get lots of kudos for it for good reason. It's just a whole other thing to imagine bringing 15-mile-an-hour vehicles. So we got some work to do, but it's exciting. Councilmember Spall?
Thank you. So a couple of thoughts. I love the idea. I've seen them in St. Louis and Atlanta and other places. Are they on the side? They're on the sidewalks, right, or not?
They're stationed on the sidewalks,
But you ride them in the street.
they
Perfect.
be ridden on the sidewalks and in the streets, but generally people would ride them in the bike lane.
In the bike lane on the street. So
Yeah.
that's really important, and I probably won't, I can barely drive, so I know what you guys are thinking. She's not getting a scooter, but I might try it if one of you comes with me, maybe Commissioner Jones.
One
But
person at
honestly,
a time.
we only got 7 months to try it, hurry up. But the reason I asked that is that one of the things we hear a little bit about the downtown center, even with the pace, when the streets are very jammed with people, on the weekends or like on a Thursday night, all of a sudden you got a whole lot of folks trying to find their way together. Having these things in the street is so much better, even if they're positioned on the sidewalks. So we still have a lot of people who ride their bikes on the sidewalks. Mm-hmm. And we keep on telling people, be careful, you got bike lanes, get off the side, and is Eric even here? But it's just sort of maddening. We have bike lanes and they still, I don't know whether people grow up in small towns and they rode on the sidewalks, but so we got to figure this out. We got to have this sort of a copacetic sharing, but having these things in the street will be much better. And I think over time we'll figure it out. So thank you. And thank you to Mitch for all the background, and he sort of helped us navigate this before the vote, so I appreciate that.
And I would just add one thing, Councilmember Spall. I think that, government can do a lot in this regard, but we also just need a culture shift. Generally speaking, it's the people who are using the bike lanes, the people who are using the streets and the sidewalks, and we can't legislate that. We can try our best, but I think what we can do is leverage a lot of what the city does around communication and taking a leadership role, but we can't legislate people
Well, we
a
can
culture
ticket.
shift.
I mean, we can't legislate it, but we can penalize, we can ticket, and so that's another whole level. It's kind of predatory. I hate to see us, there is something we can do, but it's about bad behavior. You're absolutely right.
And finding what that balance is, I think, is exactly what the Complete Streets team and Kelly can start to work on. So thank you very much. I love the dialogue, but I think it's time for a vote. Can I get a motion?
So moved?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And I believe is there any other business to come before the committee? Then I think we're adjourned.
right, at this time, we're going to convene the Public Safety Youth Recreation Committee. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Vice President Lightfoot.
Present.
Councilmember Gruber.
Here.
Councilmember Harris. Here. Councilmember Ortiz. Vice President Lightfoot again. Okay. President Scott.
Here.
Let us reflect that we are also joined by the rest of our council members with the exception of Ortiz and Evans. Introductory number 154, amending the municipal code with regard to animal services. Any questions, comments, and/or concerns? Councilmember Gruber.
I just have one question. Have we seen a lot of these animals in our city over time? I figured Chris would be the person with the answers to it, but I don't. Mayor, have we seen a lot of bears and crocodiles? I mean, have we seen the wild animals in the city?
We've seen coyotes and deers, but not necessarily bears.
Right, like the things.
crocodiles.
Do these things come into animal services ever, Chris?
So Councilmember Gruber, it's a fair question. My background's in wildlife biology, so this is something that's kind of rubbed me the wrong way about our code for a while. There's this exhaustive list of wild species in our code that, in theory, we should be managing and keeping up to date as things change taxonomically within the scientific community. We don't do that. There's errors in it. So there are existing laws that contain definitions in state law and environmental conservation law. So that's what we're doing here is recommending that we just refer to the existing established state law regarding wildlife. And there's also the distinction then between native wildlife, like the mayor has pointed out, that we do have deer, coyote, squirrel, every manner of native mammal and bird in our area. But this list is mostly geared towards people who might be keeping exotic wildlife,
Right.
like baboons or tigers or something like that. And to answer your question, no, we haven't encountered many of those. There have been people who keep rattlesnakes, crocodiles. We had one person who kept a bobcat, but very rare. Mostly we deal in cats and dogs.
Let's keep it that way.
Indeed.
All right. No bears, lions, tigers? All right. I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Introductory number 154 passes. Introductory number 155, appropriating federal forfeiture funds and amending the 2018-19 budget to support an anti-gun violence campaign. Any questions, comments, and/or concerns? I'd like to just take this time to thank the mayor, the administration, the chief, especially Mark Simmons, under your administration. We've been really able to tackle this anti-gun violence campaign. We launched it last year, to Think About It campaign, as well as the billboards, which Lamar has graciously kept the one billboard up on the inner loop the entire year. As a matter of fact, I think it's still up to this day, when the campaign was only for 30 days. So clearly our community has bought into this message. I'm getting calls from our community frequently asking, and other communities asking about the campaign. How do they get involved? Nazareth College just recently wrote a substantial check for the campaign as well. So clearly, I believe the community is engaging in this campaign, and we hope that we can actually, if we can, for $5,000, which is not a lot of money, if we can stop and send a message and save one life, I think it's well worth the investment. So I just wanted to thank the mayor and the administration, the police chief, and my colleagues for your support in this effort, so that we can try to eradicate this gun violence in our community. Just attended a wake today of the young man that was shot on Maryland Street, and to see the pain that was in that place with these young people should not be seen by any parent or this community. So we need to continue to double down on our efforts and things that we can do to get people to think about it for a second before they make a decision to take someone else's life. So thank you. Entertain a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Introduction number 155 passes. Introductory number 156, appropriating federal forfeiture funds and amending the 2018-19 budget to purchase a canine unit dog. Any questions, comments, and/or concerns? If
Move
none-
to adopt.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Introductory passes. Introductory number 157, authorize an agreement with the Monroe County for the receipt and use of tobacco sales compliance grant. Any questions, comments, and/or concerns?
Moved.
I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Introductory passes. Introductory number 158, authorizing the professional service agreement for hockey referees. Any questions, comments, and/or concerns? Entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Introductory passes. Introductory number 159, authorizing an agreement for mural art at the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Park. Any questions, comments, and/or concerns?
I have a comment.
Yes, Councilwoman Harris.
I am most excited for this project. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm just really happy that the city is supporting this.
All right, thank you. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Entertain a motion?
I'll
So
make a
moved.
motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Introductory passes. Introductory number 160, authorizing agreements for the 2019 Summer of Opportunity Program. I'd like to, just before I know, I think we may have a couple questions on this maybe. If not, I'll have one. First of all, Commissioner Torres, I'm glad that we're continuing the Summer of Opportunity Program. As a parent of two Summer of Opportunity Program young folks, my children, this is a great opportunity for our kids to get their first chance at working and get that work experience and things of that nature. I know that the program has undergone a bit of significant changes, and it seems to be for the better. I just, would you just briefly just give us a little bit of what your vision for this program this year, as opposed to, I know previous years, I'm sure based on your research of the program.
I just need to call.
Absolutely. We continue to want to focus on real career exploration experiences for youth, and not just programmatic experiences for youth, but real opportunity to explore careers that are available to them in our community and to involve local employers. So we will continue to do that, and we're continuing our outreach to expand the number of employers involved and to expand the opportunities for youth as we continue to get additional resources and funding that we need to offer more opportunities.
And we want to make sure, I think you lost some state funding this year, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Right, so in the future, we want to be a little more proactive in anything that we can do from our perspective to help advocate for those fundings for next year. We want to make sure that we do that. All right, so thanks again. Yes, sir.
Can I just ask, did the whole state lose money for soup, or was it specific to our region?
It was specific to our region. It was actually a grant from Senator Robach, and that grant, it was put in by him every year when the legislature changed over
Got it.
Well, just further, I think, means why we can look for other individuals within our community to carry forth those efforts next time, potentially. So I think there's an opportunity for us to engage some of our other friends in Albany. All right, any other questions, comments, or concerns?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Introductory passes. Introductory number 161, I'm going to be holding. I'm just going to hold it, okay, until next month. So if there's no other further business to come before the Public Safety, Youth, and Recreation Committee, we are adjourned.
I'd like to call the committee of the whole to order and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Clifford?
Here.
Councilmember Evans? Councilmember Gruber? Councilmember Harris?
Here.
Councilmember Ortiz? Councilmember Patterson? Councilmember Spall.
Here.
Vice President Lightfoot. President Scott.
Here. Thank you. We have before us an amendment for the city charter with respect to establishing the Rochester Police Accountability Board. Asking for action on a motion to amend the charter, revising the legislation in various sections throughout.
So moved.
It's a motion to consider, by the way.
Motion
We have
to
a
consider.
motion and we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. That concludes the business of the Committee of the Whole.
No, you have to,
I'm sorry.
and then
Oh,
take a
I
vote.
keep skipping that step.
Yeah.
But we're going to go back and we're going to vote on this motion as amended. Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of the motion as amended?
Aye.
I say aye. Motion carries. Thank you. So now we're finished with this. The public hearing will begin at 5 o'clock. We have about 3 items.
All right, I'm gonna do that. Yep.
Okay. See that? He didn't even want the mayor's hands. He wanted Chris' hands. Good evening. We're going to begin the public hearings. The meeting will come to order, and the clerk will call the roll, please.
Councilmember Clifford.
Here.
Councilmember Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Gruber, I'm sorry. You're over there? Councilmember Patterson. Here. Councilmember Ortiz. Councilmember Spall.
We just going out of, or
I'm trying to do it. I'm trying to do it without the paper.
Here.
Vice President Lightfoot. Here. President Scott.
Here. I now ask the clerk to begin the hearings.
Pursuant to law, a public hearing will now be had on the following matter: local improvement ordinance establishing the operating and maintenance costs of neighborhood commercial and residential parking areas. Introductory number 126. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
If there are no speakers, the hearing is closed.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter: amending the zoning map for a portion of parcel number 135.18-2-1. Introductory number 137. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
If there are no speakers, that hearing is closed.
Pursuant to law, a public hearing will now be had on the following matter: amending the zoning code for technical corrections to the planned development district number 17 Highland Hospital. Introductory number 138. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
If there are no speakers, that hearing is closed.
Pursuant to law, a public hearing will now be had on the following matter: amending the official map to dedicate additional right-of-way on West Ridge Road. Introductory number 139. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
There are no speakers, that hearing is closed.
Pursuant to law, a public hearing will now be had on the following matter: authorizing pavement width changes for McGee Avenue/Rains Park Group Improvement Project. Introductory number 140. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
See if the light is on.
My name is Marcia Wright. I live at 75 Clay Avenue. Number one, I read the minutes. I attended both meetings. I read the minutes for both meetings online. The minutes to meeting number 2 are very far from accurate. The lady who takes the minutes was late arriving at the meeting. Where she got her information, I don't know. Extending of the park on either end, it just serves no purpose at all. It's a park. It's not a traffic device. Are there a few problems down there? Yeah, there are, but that's a police matter. All new signs went up down there after the first meeting, which has slowed things down somewhat. Number 409 Rains Park at the corner of Clay Avenue is a 4-family unit. It has 0 parking, nothing other than street parking. Number 419 Rains Park has a short driveway that you might park one small car in, so they also rely on street parking. Both sides of the park are always parked full. That means these people apparently need street parking. By extending the mall, we're going to lose parking spaces, and it's going to push those cars off onto my street, onto Electric Avenue, and to McGee Avenue. On my way here this evening, I'm trying to enter Rains Park, and I'm watching a school bus try and circle around the park to get back onto the other side for a drop-off with a child, which is done every day. If the park is extended, they're going to have a very hard time excuse me, they're going to have a very hard time doing that. School buses don't bend well. Several years ago, we went through the same issues with city engineering with Burr Street at Burke Terrace. They weren't allowed to touch the park there either. A few years back with Summit Grove, they weren't allowed to touch the park there either, and they wanted to. So here we are again with the same issue. I trust that you were able to read the packet I dropped off showing no question. This was declared a city park long ago. The accidents that are occurring there that they're talking about, these are fender benders. They're not fatalities. There might have been a couple times an ambulance came and took somebody, treated and released. This is a small city street. Raised crosswalks, the crosswalks aren't even marked now. Raised crosswalks and the new high curbs would fix most of the problem. I asked at the second meeting, who's paying for all this? And I was told that it was a city street fund. And yet, in reading the bid that appeared in the Daily Record, it says that this is going to be a grant. So I've asked Molly what the grant is about, and she's going to find out for me. But I would ask that the extension of this city park that's 100 years old not be allowed. Thank you.
Are there any additional speakers? If there are none, that hearing is closed.
Pursuant to law, a public hearing will now be had on the following matter: amending the official map to abandon portions of the Exchange Boulevard and East Broad Street right-of-ways that overlap with the Blue Cross Arena. Introductory number 141. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
If there are no speakers, that hearing is closed.
Pursuant to law, a public hearing will now be had on the following matter: amending ordinance number 2019-63 relating to an official map amendment, abandoning a portion of Pitkin Street. Introductory number 153. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
If there are no speakers, that hearing is closed.
That's it.
That concludes our public hearings for this month. Thank you for those that came out and offered comments. This legislation will be voted on at our full council meeting on Tuesday, May 21st. We are adjourned. Okay. Oh, is that what happened? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because we're running, yeah. What room were we gonna go to?
Oh, the new one? 164 A and B? Okay. 162?
For the whole council? I mean, we can, I mean, it's not a problem.
Are we meeting?
On the school stuff. Didn't Carm set that up?
You got it, or you want me to?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
I don't doubt it. It's just we're on the constant state of motion.
What's that? What's that scientific principle? What is that?